What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm J-Lag.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and reviewing Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Season 4, Episode 4. And it's called Chapter 32, The Imp of the Preverse.
And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending of the podcast because we're going to go through our recap roundups, our best moments, our best lines of the episode, our MVPs. We got some new MVPs up in here for this episode. So be sure to stick around for that.
And as always, to our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into this episode.
Episode 4. We're halfway through the season.
Yeah.
This episode,
wow, that was fast.
Yeah, this episode is called The Preverse, which I quickly want to read out the description because I really wanted to know what the exact definition of it was. It says, of a person or their action showing a deliberate and obstinate desire to behave in a way that is unreasonable or unacceptable, often in spite of the consequences. Or another definition is contrary to the accepted or expected standard of practice.
Got it.
So it kind of makes sense to this episode where things are kind of flipped. And it's not the typical world that we know in Sabrina.
Yeah. And the one thing that I do want to mention right off the top, because this episode, I'd love to know your thoughts too, NB, but this episode really gave me Sound of Music vibes. So anyone who's watched it, it's a musical, but it's wrapped in Nazi Germany and this family and all this other stuff. So there's this drama that's happening on the outside of the musical aspect of it as well. And there were so many moments this episode that gave me that Sound of Music vibe. There's scenes that are almost exact to it. I don't know if anybody else got that. And I just thought it was interesting because I'm just did RIS watch this and fall in love with it, or is he just obsessed with Sound of Music?
No, I think you're absolutely right. It is.
Yeah, last episode, he also did 16 Going on 17, that song, which is also from Sound of Music. So I was just he's on some tip.
Yeah,
anyway,
I think you're right.
What did you think of the episode?
When I was reading a couple of the recaps, they also the same thing. It was very Sound of Music. For me personally, I loved Man in the High Castle. So for me, this kind of had that same vibe where all of a sudden you're flipped and the world is, the Japanese people won and the Nazis won. And now we're living in an America where it's taken over by that. They clearly didn't call them the Nazis. They called them the emperor and the people, whatever. I enjoyed it. I like these one-off episodes where they kind of give you a glimpse of a world that we would have never known. I'm down for that because I think you can do so much with it. But like we talked about, I feel the ending was still an ending that we expected. So were there any casualties? Yeah. Were there any anything like that? Not really, but
it's interesting because we watched the episode and offline we were talking about it, and just really briefly we were essentially saying it's good. I mean it's like a little film in one episode, which I feel at this point CAOS is known for it. They do these individual episodes, and because they're an hour long, it feels so filmy, and they put a whole story behind it, the set, and they changed everything. So in that regard it's that way, but I still find that it's very it just feels very predictable. I'm just waiting for the end part because I'm okay, let's get to the part where it does come to a point where you just start to feel okay, let's just get to the end when they fix everything.
Yeah, especially now that we have these 8 eldritch horrors or whatever. We know, okay, one's gonna fail, the second's gonna fail, the third's gonna fail. Now this one failed. It's just repeating itself, and I'm here for the journey, but I don't know if as a whole, as a season, high level, when you look at it, you're am I really into this?
You're not gripped. I mean, there's no drama.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what our listeners have to say about it too, because I'm impressed with the show, but they also got canceled. So
exactly,
what's going on?
There be a reason for
Where's the audience here?
Anyway, let's get into the episode. So it starts off with the Spellman household, and Sabrina is practicing her co-president speech to her family, and everybody claps, and then she kind of talks to Zelda, and she asks her hey, what did you think of my speech? And Zelda basically says why are you doing this? The world is basically coming to an end, and you want to be a co-president, and also Roz is being a co-president, so that means that both of you as witches now are dealing with something else that like we ain't got no
and
like we ain't got no time to do.
Why now? Like why in your fourth
now?
season do you want to be like the class pres? Wouldn't you want to do that like 2 seasons ago? Like it was just kind of like they were grasping at another storyline to introduce in high school, and like this was just felt like it was just very forced.
And also, like, aren't you failing Wardwell's class? Like, she just gave you an F like 2 episodes ago.
Like,
so,
how about you go study first?
How about you, like, and that's the thing. Like, I always assumed that Sabrina was on some like altered schedule because she has to do like full-time school and then full-time like after the academy school. So I was always like, she's not even a good candidate for president anyway. Like, nobody even sees her.
Yeah.
So anyway, her Zelda and Ambrose basically say like, we got other shit to deal with, but like go off, sis, like do your thing. Then it cuts to Harvey's room because Sabrina does allude to the fact that Roz hasn't told him yet, but she's telling him that night. And so it cuts to that scene. Harvey's pretty upset that Roz is a witch. But my thing is like, she had the cunning.
Yeah.
She like cuns for you all night long.
Yeah. And like
you're pissed that she's a witch.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just something again that like didn't really fit into what's actually been happening. She already had superpowers basically. Like whether or not you want to call that a witch or a cunning woman, like she still has powers. So I don't understand why he was so cheesed and upset. Like
yeah. He's basically like the audience. Like, why did you give Roz a storyline right now? Like,
if he wants a basic bitch, he needs to leave Greendale and like go to Riverdale.
Yeah, go to Riverdale. Go find someone else. But they got their own issues. So she basically ends up being like, "Do you want me to leave?" And he's like, "No, let's just have sex." So they do, and then that's that part of it. And then back at school, there's like this sign that they're looking at with it. It says like Sabrina and Roz for president. And he like is talking to Theo and he's like, why do I keep falling in love with witches? I'm like, I do feel bad for him. Like this poor guy just wants like a normal basic bitch life, but he can't get it. So then it cuts to the library. They're all talking. And then Harvey's also again, like digging at her being like, how are you going to balance all of it? Like you're a seer, but you're also like, want to be co-president. And then Roz kind of digs back at him and is like, well, because I have a supportive like boyfriend, I should be fine. Yeah. So obviously there's tension there. She's not really happy about it either. Then it cuts to Prudence and she's like in the observatory. Another thing that I want to really quickly mention is they never showed this observatory up until now, right? Am I wrong? That they haven't shown this room that she was like in with like the planets and like her like
no, I don't think they have, and it looks really freaking cool. I love it.
Yeah, I was like, this is kind of cool. It's like the call center. It's like the base of the school. So she's kind of like, I guess, meditating and trying to check to make sure that the world is okay. But then there's a rumble, and while she feels the rumble, Blackwood also feels the rumble on his side. Like the cup on his side shakes.
Somebody had chili, and now everything is rumbling.
Everybody got to go to the bathroom. So the salesman comes in. He's like, "Can I use the bathroom?" No. He comes into Blackwood's place and he starts selling his wares. And Blackwood sees the imp of perversion, and so he wants it. But the guy says it's not for sale. First thing I said was, "Then why did you put it in the fucking case? Then why did you
come here? Like what?"
So this part was kind of confusing because number one, he looked like he was wearing like a mask. Like he didn't look like he had his own face. So I'm just like, is this guy in a disguise? Who is this salesman? Yeah. And they never really go back to it later on. Like they just kind of like throw this salesman in here.
Question to you, like did the Eldrick whatever like bring this guy to town, or like did this guy just randomly come to town?
Yeah. Like did he like was
it because he summoned by something?
Some spell that it was going to be summoned to him? Yeah, I don't really know how that works. And like, correct us if we're wrong. This guy, I've never seen him before. Like this salesman guy. Like if he was one of those characters that kind of pop up out of nowhere and it's like, "Hey, buy my stuff," then I'd be like, "Oh, he's back."
He's just back.
With, like,
yeah.
With the imp, but he wasn't. Anyway, I was kind of confused by that. A part of me almost feels like he's a part of the larger story.
For sure.
Like maybe he's one of the Eldritch Terrors.
I almost feel like all of these people are gonna like come back and like kill the shit out of Blackwood. Like I don't know. Because it's like, what's the point? Like, what's the point? Like, you know, if he came to town and that thing was on sale, Blackwood could just buy it from him and then go on his merry way. Like, why did he have to like steal it from him?
Why did they make it a conflict? Yeah, exactly. So he steals it from him. He kicks him out of the church. And yeah, it was a little confusing as to why that happened in the first place. So as he takes it and he's holding it in his hand, Prudence starts to sense where he is. And she's like, he's about to do something crazy. I can kind of see where he is. One of the questions that I also had as a quick pause is, why is it taking Prudence so long to find her dad when
he's like right there?
Yeah, he's literally like down the street. And also, like, if we recall, Marie helped her find her dad the first time using blood magic.
Yeah.
I'm like, you could do the same fucking thing.
You know what? I think there's just so many holes in everything. And I think you said that too. Like, this story has just gotten so big and now it's to their detriment where like they can't close any of these holes. Like, you could keep asking these questions to like forever. They just don't make sense.
And
you're right.
They're just like, we're just going to do it a different way this time.
And, yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah.
So anyway, so she senses where he is, and because the Weird Sisters are all connected, like Marie sees it, and so does Roz while she's in the bathroom with Sabrina, and she's like, oh shit, like something's about to go down. But Prudence doesn't want to tell them where he is hiding because she's about to like go kill him with her knives. So right in that moment, she teleports to the church or whatever, the building that he's in, and she's running at him. And as she's about to kill him with that final blow, he wishes to become the emperor of the world and like whatever. So then as soon as that happens, there's this like explosion of change, and Prudence actually turns into this chick with like a brand new haircut. Like she like everything changes, and like there's posters on the wall. Sabrina and Roz still don't really know what's happening because they're just like, what just happened? And they're still in the bathroom. But then it really quickly cuts to Prudence, and it kind of follows her through it. And she walks into Dorian's, and she's calling for Judas and Judith. And we even get a quick moment with Agatha, like her sitting on the couch, like pretending to be crazy. As we know now, she's pretending to be crazy. But the kids finally get their first line after 2 seasons. Yeah. So good for them.
You must have been super happy for that.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. I was like, oh, wow, they can talk. So, yeah, so it looks like Prudence now has changed as well. And now she's working for
She's back on his side. Yeah.
Which I have a lot of concerns about as well.
Why?
Issues, plot holes, once again. Because I'm just like of
why?
All people, the one who hates him the most, she's the one that turns into somebody that like follows him. Like it doesn't make any
like why not
sense
just keep Agatha like beside him?
Yeah. Especially when there's detractors. There's people like later on, like fucking Theo and Robin kind of keep their like their morals, and they're just like, no, we're against this like mission. Like how come Prudence
what I didn't understand was, and maybe you can answer this for me, why didn't some people, like you're right, some people could see through it all, like some people knew the truth, and some people were like hypnotized by it, like Harvey was. He was like, oh no, like I love the Emperor, like whatever. What was that, like what happened that some people were affected and some people weren't?
I have no idea. Like, unless you're a weirdo, like, is that the idea that, like,
I thought maybe it was whoever was in the coven, like, whoever was at the school was affected.
Right.
But it doesn't make sense because then, like, you're right. Like, Theo and Robin weren't there either.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Harvey wasn't, and he got affected.
Yeah, I'm just I was confused as to like the rationale as to why they chose certain people to be a part of the army, not a part of the army.
Yeah, if you guys know the answer listening, let us know in the comments because I'm truly very confused by that.
Yeah. And that's the thing. When it comes to magic, if you don't set rules of law in, then like nothing makes sense.
Or like, just drop a line. You still have
to ground it.
Like it just takes one conversational line to be like, oh, da-da-da-da, this is why.
Exactly. Like, yeah. So it was just a little confusing on that part for sure. Like who and why certain people were like good and some people were bad. Then it cuts to the school. Roz and Sabrina, of course, are still in the bathroom. They're not sure what happened. So they start looking around the school and they realize like the world is completely different. They see posters of Emperor Blackwood everywhere. And she also finds a poster that like she's public enemy number one. Like it's her face.
Like
look for this witch.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because anyway, like right away, Billy comes down and he notices her, and then right before he turns back around, she changes into like a basic bitch. Like she goes back to like basic Becky, so she looks different. So now Sabrina has brown hair, and even Harvey like can't recognize her, and he's also part of the army. So very confusing. Then it cuts to Wardwell's class, and like in this world, she's like lit. Like she almost looks like the hell version of herself. And she's like, "Hey guys, we're gonna learn about history. It's Blackwood's birthday, so he comes to visit the school." And she's just talking about like the history of the world. All we know is basically it's like Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
So
without them saying that.
Without them saying it specifically, and then while that whole thing's happening, he's like, "There's a witch in your midst. It's Robin." And then Robin's like, "I'm not a witch. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Well, you have green hair." So.
Yeah. He's like, "You look emo, so you're probably a witch."
Yeah. And Theo stands up and tries to defend him. And Robin ends up running away because he's
What is Robin's like power?
I think he's a hobgoblin.
Which means like that he's like fast?
Super fast. He's like an elf imp
monster. Okay.
Not a monster, but
like
he's one of those kinds of things. Like like a trickster.
I'm gonna Google that right now.
So he runs away, but then Theo gets taken away because he stood up for Robin. And then I wrote down the note that I'm still confused as to why Harvey's in the military, but Theo and Robin are the same. And also the one thing that I was also confused by, we're just gonna be poking holes in this entire storyline the entire time. But basically, I'm like, why wouldn't Blackwood remember everything since he's the one that became the Emperor?
I was thinking
and then just kill everybody, kill all the people that he thinks could be detractors. So like kill all the Spellmans, kill all her friends, kill Roz, kill everybody right away. Like he sees them. So why wouldn't you just kill them all? Like even Harvey, like don't keep anybody around in case anything bad happens if you want to keep this reality.
Yeah.
So I just feel like they didn't even try to hide them. So part of me is just like, is it bad writing? Is he supposed to be so arrogant that he doesn't notice them? I don't know. It was just a little stupid in that regard where I'm just like, Blackwood should be like down to kill every single person that is, going against him. But anyway. They run back to the bathroom, and then they conclude that they are in an altered reality, but they're not affected. And it's really funny. The camera zooms into a poster in the bathroom that says, "Get your flu shot." Yeah. And I'm like, wow.
I knew you were going to go crazy.
Subliminal. I was like, okay.
COVID.
But COVID. But she says that it's because they both have been in contact with an eldritch terror. So they go and look for Ambrose to get more answers. So it cuts to the Spellman household, and it's all like boarded up. It's shut down. It's vandalized. And Ambrose is there and he's leaving. He's like packing his last box and he's about to like take off in his car. And he doesn't remember anything.
Yeah.
And once again, plot hole number 75. Why doesn't Ambrose remember anything?
Well, that's the thing. Everything is so inconsistent. Like we don't know who's affected and who's not. But why is that? Like I can't believe they wrote this episode and they didn't explain that to us.
Like conclude that. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense unless they're going to leave it for later. Like you guys were chosen because you were special for some reason. But like I feel like it's such a reach in that regard. And I'm just like, of all people, Ambrose literally touched every single one of the fucking Eldritch Terrors. Yeah. So according to her theory about it, like technically he would also remember. So I'm just like, this is wasting time. And like, that's the frustration about this is you guys are an hour-long show. Like, do not waste time like with these random moments that could be easily resolved and find a new plot point, find a new issue that they can overcome. Like it's still a problem. It's still going to be an issue, even if Ambrose remembers. Like it was just frustrating that they had.
It's just wasting time. So anyway, it's just wasting time.
Totally wasting time. Yeah. So then he drives away across the town line because he's just like, I need to get the fuck out of here. And then they do the thing that everybody does in stupid like horror films all the time, and it pisses me off. They're like, let's split up and divide and conquer. And I'm like, you guys are in an alternate reality.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would you both leave each other's sides? It makes no sense whatsoever. So anyway, she decides to go to the academy to find Zelda, and Roz decides to be like, I need to save Harvey. And I'm like, Theo literally just got arrested. Why isn't anybody giving a shit about Theo? Yeah. Like, why are they trying to save him? I was like, you guys are such shitty friends. So anyway, cuts to the academy, and she walks in this disguise, and she bumps into Nick, of course. And we're getting these cute little moments between the two of them. Yeah. I think we saw a few last episode. We're getting them again this episode. And I'm kind of living for it because I truly did forget how adorable Nick Scratch is.
You know what?
The actor.
You're right. And I think it's something that like it's a storyline that kind of grounds us back to like what the show is about and like what's been exciting about the show. So every time I saw them together on screen, you're right. Like I was so excited. I was like, this is why we love this show. This is why I'm watching the show. Like realistically, like I don't care about the Eldritch Terrors. Like let's be real.
Yeah, he's so handsome. I literally wrote that down as a note. I'm like, he's so handsome. So he obviously doesn't remember her either, but he like says she's cute and whatever. And then she goes to visit Zelda, but she doesn't remember anything either.
Useless Zelda.
Useless Zelda, like just being a fucking racist or
like
whatever.
Again in this like edition of like the reality, they could have like made her the smart one and like Hilda the one that's like kind of aloof, but like ever. Still Zelda was like useless.
That would have been 100%. It would have been cool if they flipped it a little bit. So she tries a spell and it's almost like she's about to remember her, but then Marie like kind of storms in and she's like, Blackwood's here for his birthday. So Zelda kind of snaps out of it and she's like, you need to leave. Like, just stay hidden. You're going to get us in trouble. So she leaves her in the office, and then it shows Blackwood in the front foyer, and there's a choir waiting for them to sing, and he's just going to search the entire school for, like, illegal art and books. So, again, very Nazi, very Sound of Music. And then they all sing a song for him to, like, calm him down. And it's a song actually from Cabaret, which is a movie about Nazis and jazz. That's like the best way to like talk about it. But the song's called Tomorrow Belongs to Me. I didn't know it was an actual song. I thought it was a song that they made up for Blackwood, but it's an actual song. So as they're singing the song, Nick is obviously in the choir as well, but he's like not singing because he's like, I refuse. But I'm like, couldn't you just pretend?
Yeah.
Couldn't you just pretend to sing it even if you didn't really believe it? So he notices it. Blackwood notices and he's like, I'm not happy because like that guy over there, he's not singing my song. So like, what the fuck's going on here? So before he's about to like say something to challenge him, Sabrina like kind of puts a spell on him so that she's singing the song like in the back corner, and then he's mouthing the words and he's actually singing it. So then once he sings, Blackwood feels more calm about it, and then that's where the scene cuts and like everybody goes to like search the actual school. So then it cuts to Harvey's room and Roz is just like, what's going on? You need to calm down. You need to get back to the reality of the world. And she's trying to get through to him, but he doesn't believe anything. But I'm like, did she try to cunt-fuck him?
By the way, like I love this scene, and I almost wish it didn't happen in this like alternate reality universe episode because I love the tension that was between these two characters. It's just I was like, wait, is this gonna be real though once this episode is over? You know what I mean?
No.
No.
Like he doesn't remember anything after. The answer is no. But I was like, did she try to like fuck him so like she can like con the reality into him, but it didn't work. Clearly. And she's like, you have friends. I like you help people. I popped your cherry. Like, what's going on with you? Like, she tries to like lay out all these facts, and he's just
let's
like,
not forget that his family came from like witch hunters. So I feel like, and like I was saying last episode too, like I would love if they somehow introduced that part back into Harvey's character, just to create some like tension between him and his girls, basically. So we kind of get a glimpse of that a little bit in this episode, where like he's so like against witches and all of that.
Right. Yeah, he's like back to season 1. So she's just bummed out about it, and she's like, "You're not yourself," and then she just leaves. Yeah, I just wrote down, of all people, you'd think Harvey would not be a Nazi, but okay, fine. Like, let's move on. So then cutting back to the academy, they find all these art pieces and like maps and stuff, and they confiscate them, and then they decide to arrest Nick anyways. And they leave. He's just
why do they arrest Nick?
Because they're just like, I don't like you. Okay. Blackwood's basically just like, we're taking you with us because you are obviously like a witch or something. And then once they leave, Sabrina / Samantha, because that's like her name now. She goes to everybody and she's like, guys, don't worry about it, okay? I'ma save you. I'ma save all of you. And Zelda's like, get the fuck out of here. You're going to cause more trouble. But here is a note. Like, she passes her a quick note because Sabrina kind of gets through to her. And she's like, you had a dog and you pet it all the time. And like, don't you remember anything? And she's kind of coming back. She's not really. She gives her the note. And then she
also like
says,
what a random thing. Like, we don't even know about this damn dog, right? Like, we never like we don't, as the audience, don't know about it. So like the fact that they bring it up is so freaking random.
You know what's funny? I actually didn't know that whole story. I do remember very vaguely from the very, very, very first season.
She had a dog.
In the first few episodes. The dog was already dead, but like it showed like a little statue of him in the corner of him dying. So I'm like, you want me to call back to like the first frame? Season?
Yeah.
But then I watched the episode again to take the notes, and I saw in the scene where she's doing her speech in the very first scene of this episode, she is petting this dog. Like, this dog is like sitting beside her. Okay. And she's petting this like stuffed dog.
So they like stitched that whole together. Yeah, okay.
Basically. I was like, okay, wow, that was a reach, but okay. So anyway, so in that moment, she gives her the note, and then she realizes she has to go to doctor's services, so she writes on her hand so Roz can see to meet her there. So that's what happens there. Then it cuts to Ambrose, and he's literally been sitting at the county line this entire fucking day. Like, it went from day and now it's nighttime, and he's been sitting because he has so much anxiety to like cross the line. I don't know why. I think it's because he's like, what's the word when you're like afraid of going outside? Like, I think he actually has that as a character.
Oh, interesting.
That fear, which is why he always stayed in the house. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe
because he's been used to that for how many years, right? He's been trapped inside. So yeah, I get it.
True.
Poor Ambrose.
I get it. So once he finally drives through, he remembers everything. He stops the car and he sees the salesman just like sitting there, like chilling. And he just talks to him for a second. And again, this exchange was very mysterious to me because he talks to him and he's like, oh yeah, this guy stole my imp of perversion. He doesn't ask him explicitly for his help, but then Ambrose is like, I don't know what to do. How am I gonna like fix this now? And again, the salesman is like, oh, I have this stone of reality. Like, do you want it? And he's like, how much is it? And he's like, it's for free.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay. Nothing be for free.
Yeah.
This guy's shady.
Yeah.
What the hell's happening?
For sure.
So he basically says, like, you need to get this to somebody to like fix the world, because if you root it in the world, then everything will be okay. But he does warn that if he does stay in that world for longer than like 30 seconds, he will revert back to not remembering anything. So he's like, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? And sure enough, again, perfect timing. Robin takes also the entire day to get to the edge of the town. So he also gets to the edge of town at that moment. And he's like, maybe I can help you with that. So he obviously is going to team up with Robin to get this stone to everybody. So then it cuts to the bookstore. Sabrina sees Roz, and then they see Aunt Hilda, but she's not herself 100%, but she's also like not an enemy. She doesn't have her blue makeup on anymore. I noticed that. They like didn't put her eye makeup on. They're like, she's different. She's different in this world, okay? So they ask for the book that Zelda told them to ask for, and she leads them into this back room. And in the back room, it's the Resistance. The Resistance is hiding. Yeah. Katniss Everdeen's back there. Lilith is back there with her baby, and so is Agatha. But now Agatha, because it's like opposite,
flipped, yeah.
She's now normal. She's not insane anymore. And she's like, you know what's funny about this? Like, I'm normal in this world. So, like, this is what's happening. So she basically, like, gives her all the tea of what happened. Like, the fact that, you know, he has an imp perversion and, you know, like, he flipped this world. So then he's an emperor now. So we're getting all this information from Agatha, which is great. She
flipped because she's the opposite of what she was, but she somehow still remembers what had happened.
What happened?
And how does that work, exactly. Right? Because if you flipped, you wouldn't remember what happened because you flipped.
No idea.
Plot hole number 81. Like,
yeah, exactly. So in that moment, exactly, Ambrose warps in with Robin, and he starts to tell her about the stone. But because Ambrose talks like so eloquently, he like takes a million years to get to the point that he's trying to make, which is you need to put this stone and put it into the soup so we can all ingest it. He's like, I, and then he forgets literally everything at the exact moment.
They're like, Ambrose,
and again,
he's gone.
He's like, oh, he's gone again. And she's like, damn it. But again, this is one of the things that really annoyed me too, because I'm just like, you guys are wasting time.
Yeah.
You do not have to make the whole episode an hour long. Like if these are the moments that you guys are pausing on, because literally 5 seconds later, Hilda's like, oh, why don't we just try to put it in a soup and then everybody can drink it? So like, why couldn't he just say it? You know what I mean? Like, why did he have to forget it for 5 seconds in order for her to come in with a line to say, put it into a soup? So I'm not in love with these moments, and they happen so often this episode that I was like, stop wasting my time. I love the show and I will watch it in hours full, but like pack it in, guys. Like pack it in with moments that really are meaningful.
Yeah, and I truly think they don't need to unravel themselves like they do. I feel like they get so crazy and so detailed and like deep where it's like, okay, guys, now you have to kind of pull yourself back from all of those things. And now we're left with trying to like put this shit together and trying to like figure all these plot holes out. But it didn't have to be this complex. It could have just 100%. Been as simple as what you're saying. Like, go eat the soup. Goodbye. Done.
Yeah, exactly. So annoying. So anyway, they decide to plan this attack because it's his birthday. Tomorrow, today, whatever. I don't know. So they're like, we're going to do it then because there's going to be executions. Everybody's going to be there. He's going to be there with the imp. So like, let's do this. So then it cuts back to the academy. There's a really quick scene where Sabrina goes in and gives Zelda the flask of soup so she can also remember. And then it cuts to the bookstore. And Harvey and Billy walk in as the military people, and then they start to search the entire place. Again, very cabaret, very Sound of Music. Harvey finds the secret door in the back, and he sees everyone. But he, like, Roz is basically like, this is your moment of truth. Like, you don't have to say anything. Just pretend that you didn't see anything. And then he's like, Blackwood knows that something's up in here. So if we don't come back empty-handed, it's going to be like really suspicious. So like, I'm going to take you. So he takes her, which I was like, okay, fine. But then I'm also like, if they take Roz, wouldn't they also arrest Cerberus and Hilda? Like, they are the ones that are keeping people in the back.
Yeah.
Like, you'd think that they would also take the store owners and arrest them as well. But anyway, another plot hole number 85.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to Dorian's, and Agatha is trying to like still pretend to be crazy. She doesn't do a very good job because Prudence rats her out right away. And she's like, no, you weren't at the church. You weren't doing this stuff. And Blackwood's like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to kill you now. Like, you're dead. So it cuts back to the bookstore. Zelda is now back on track. She's like filled with reality. And she has like her moment of like a war cry call, and she's like, we can do this, we can resist, we can fight Blackwood, we're ready to do this, whatever, we're gonna kill him at his birthday party, whatever. So then it cuts to Blackwood's birthday party at the church, at the desecrated church, and Roz is tied up, and so is Nick, but Nick doesn't have a shirt on,
of course.
so he looks really sexy.
like he just loses his shirt.
Just like, yeah, like Roz has all of her clothes on, and then Nick has his like shirt completely torn off, and he doesn't even have like any scars of like torture. He's just like
perfect,
half naked. That's it. So while they're doing this, like Blackwood's talking, and he's like, these are the traitors, and then he starts to crush Nick. Apparently this is like some medieval way that they used to kill people, by like putting a board on them and then like slowly but surely putting stones on them to kill them. So it looked really painful, but Nick is so strong and so sexy that he's like, give it to me. And so he's totally fine with it. And while he's being crushed, like he's in so much pain at this point that Sabrina's like, I can't take it no more. And she stands up and she starts yelling at Blackwood. And she's like, yo, it's me. You've been looking for me. Stop this madness. You be crazy. And I'm just like, considering how long he's been looking for her, I'm so surprised that she even gets like 45 seconds to like have her speech to be like, I'm going to stop you. I'm like, this guy would have been like, instantly kill this guy. Kill her right now. She's literally right there. She's like the one on all the posters that I put around town. So I was just like, okay, girl. So while she's talking, Ambrose kind of like sneaks onto the side and he blows the imp up, but it doesn't work because like the imp is sitting there like on a little pedestal. He blows it up and then he starts laughing. He's like, you think I'm
it's so
basic?
Funny.
He literally says, you think I'm that basic.
It's so funny. Ambrose's first attempt never works. Like if there's a first attempt in the episode, it's from Ambrose and it's not going to work. I'm just letting you guys know. In the next episode, just wait for it. The first one Ambrose is going to do, 100%. He's not going to get it. And then it's going to have to be Sabrina who does it in the end.
100%. You're absolutely right. That's so true. It's a very good point. So in that moment, it doesn't work. So Sabrina grabs this stone of reality from her purse because it's right there. And she like does a perfect pitch to to Blackwood's head. So whacks him in the head. And she's like, he's a witch. And then smacks him. And then there's this like shockwave. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if you noticed, it was like this shockwave that happens. But then I'm not sure what happened in that moment because like Harvey and Prudence were still like under the spell-ish. Like they were kind of still under the spell. So they were like, So you don't really know if it's because she smashed him with a rock or because Roz actually gets to him. But essentially Harvey stops the executor. He like smashes him in the head and unties Roz. And then Prudence is about to help Blackwood, but then the weird sisters are like, no, don't do it. And Ambrose is like, no, don't do it. I'm sorry I didn't let you kill him before. And then Agatha's literally like, yo, your dad's trying to kill everybody. Just like, stop him. So even with all that influence, she barely gets there. And then she finally tells everybody where the real one is. Like the weird sisters kind of connect. And then she's like, tell us the truth as to where the actual piece is. Yeah. So she's like, oh yeah, it's in Dorian's like place. It's behind his portrait. So
why right was away, it there?
Robin dips. I guess that's like his new headquarters.
Oh, okay.
It seems. So Robin like goes straight there. He takes off the picture and he starts to like unlock it, but it's like taking him a million years because like he's got to do like a million combinations to get it open. And then Sabrina saves Nick. They have a really cute moment where, you know, they're just like flirting with each other. And then Robin comes back again with it, and Sabrina tries to use it to turn it back to the regular reality, but again it doesn't work. So this is the third fucking time. This is the second fucking time it doesn't work. But very quickly they realize it's in the dog. So that's when they like flip it back to reality. Like by the third time. And this is what I'm trying to say. Once again, don't waste my time. Yeah. Why did he have to have two decoys? Because the episode could have been
done by now. Yeah.
Because he finally they figured it out literally after the first, like, you know, like they figured out like 2 seconds later. They're like, oh, it's in the dog. Like, it's not like they spent like another half an hour trying to figure out where it was. It was like literally the dog was right there. They're like, oh, it's the dog. Cool. Thanks for figuring that out in 5 seconds. So it's just, to me, like these time waster moments that I'm just kind of not impressed by. And then it flips back to reality, and Prudence is obviously still running at him, and she finally has that final stab. He drops the imp of perversion, and he's quote unquote like dead. He's like dead, but not really dead because he can't be killed. Do you feel like it resolved way too easily?
Well, I feel like
you got the revenge you deserved?
Kind of, but I can see why you didn't like it. I was like, oh my God, this is sick. But then I was like, yeah, like, why did it have to be in this episode where everything was flipped and she was near him? Yeah. And like, why couldn't it have been when she was actually searching for him for like years and years or whatever it was?
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
And she spent the entire episode being on his side. So I was just like, so much of it didn't really make sense to me. They could have easily made Prudence the lead on this episode, and Sabrina could have taken a back seat. And, you know, like Prudence is like, I need to find him. It's my mission to get him done. Like, because then by the time we get to the end of the episode when she actually kills him, I'm just like, okay, then basically we spent the entire episode just for this. And I'm kind of over it at that point. Like, she's literally spent her entire like waking 2 seasons trying to find this guy and kill him, and it didn't feel as satisfying as I feel like it should have.
It should have been like a Kill Bill moment, and it definitely wasn't, because we haven't seen her in her like mission this whole season. Right. She's been part of the weird ones, and she's been part of the sisters, whatever. Exactly. So like, she hasn't talked about it as much as she like was before. Yeah, I don't know. It could have been different.
So I was I was pretty frustrated with how they did it. I don't think that they did Prudence any justice in that moment, but it is what it is. So back at school, everything's back to normal. Roz and Sabrina bump into Harvey in the hallway, and he is like, can I talk to you? And he apologizes for everything. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm here for you. I want to be on the right side of history. Wink. Like, it felt like cute. Very like after school special.
No, but, it was cute. I was like, oh, okay.
You're like, okay, he's like down for it. But I'm like, you have been down for it.
So like what was the what was the argument?
You didn't have to have like a Nazi Germany storyline in order for you to fucking realize that your girlfriend is just your girlfriend. And then once again, Sabrina has like her speech of all speeches. She's like, down with the patriarchy. I'm like a feminist to the core, a feminist power, feminism.
What did you think about that?
Like, I mean, listen, guys, I'm all down for the wee ones. Like, that is my thing. But at the end of the day, it does come to a point where I'm like, we already know we're getting this from the show. We're getting that feminist angle from the show. It's something that has been pushed so often that I'm just confused as to why they keep saying like, don't forget, we're all feminists. And like, this is the point we're trying to make. Like, I just didn't feel like it needed it again. Yeah. But sure. What did you think about it?
I mean, of course, I'm like, woman, like, hear me roar. I get it. But like, it was the first moment, I have to be like honest, where I kind of like eye rolled a little bit. Like, I was kind of like, okay, guys, we get it. I'm all for that. Of course, she's like the epitome of this like female character, and all of them are in the show. But I felt like it like they wrote that scene to lead to her saying that. You know what I mean? And like, it shouldn't be like that. It should kind of just come more organically, and like, we get it. We get that that's like a theme in the show.
We understand.
We're watching it because of that. You don't have to hit us over the head, with it.
Because I literally feel like she did this exact same thing in the first episode when they created that club, the witch club, the Wiccan club. So I'm just like, you guys already had this moment. I don't need another moment like this in season 4. Like, go do other stuff with your life.
And from her, it's so obvious, right? Like, we know she's like that. But if you had Sabrina. Prudence saying that, I'd be like, yo, like, Prudence is all like down to be on the women's team. Like, do the characters that like necessarily aren't always like feminism. Like, that'd be more.
Or here's an idea. Why don't you get the boys up there? Why don't you get fucking Harvey to come stand up there? Why don't you get fucking all the guys to be like, like, what about Theo? What about Harvey Robin? Say, why can't they come up there?
Yeah, exactly. They had Harvey say, I'm here for all of you. Who's you? Who's you? Why don't you say, I'm here for all you women? I'm here. I want to be on the right side of history, on the women's side. Like, say it.
They just could have done it better. I don't know, man. There was some weak ass writing
for sure.
in that particular spot.
Agreed.
For sure. And then in the one of the final moments, we get the academy, and it shows kind of the conclusion of where Blackwood is going to be done. It's just his head, and because he can't die, it's his head on a plate, and he's gagged. He has like a mouth thing around his mouth, so he can't talk. Thank God. And then Agatha has been returned, but she's still crazy. She's like rolling around. That kind of
let me down a little bit because I was really excited for like to get her back to like her normal self.
Same. I was like, where did that stone go? Why couldn't they just like bop her into reality again? Like it kind of frustrated me, and I hope that they do bring her back because I'm like, why do you just want your crazy sister rolling around? Like she doesn't have like a real purpose in this world anymore because like she can't even really do much outside of like become this person who like they can't rely on her. They have to like kind of keep an eye on her all the time. She might make trouble again. Like for all we know, she's going to like put Blackwood's head back on someone else's body. Like I just feel like I'm glad that she's back 100% back in the coven. But at the same time, I'm just like, I'm sad that she's not like what she was in the other reality. Yeah. You know, it's a little frustrating. And then in the final moment, Nyx talks to Sabrina. He pulls her aside and he's like, just letting you know, like, I still have feelings for you. I think you still have feelings for me. And they finish it off with our favorite word. Yep. We are end game.
No, I love this moment too, and it's I love how he was like, I don't feel bad about saying that I have feelings for you. He's like, I want to like honor that part of myself, and like I want to be true to that part. Right. And I was like, that's so cute. Like the way he said it, the way it was written was really, really cute. So yeah, I really like that moment.
Yeah, I liked it. I believed it. I'm down for it. You know, all is forgiven in my books. I feel like you know. They had some growing pains as a relationship, and now they're back on track. And I really hope that they get back together because I think that they're a good couple. So before we finish up the episode, I have a few questions that I have. And once again, we're in episode 4, and I'm still asking the damn question somehow. Where are the kids?
Where are the kids? At this point, even if you saw them, would they be useful? I doubt it. So it's like...
No. Absolutely not. But is Agatha useful? I don't think so. Like, what is she doing at this point? They didn't have to bring back anybody. You know, they could have just been like, oh, well, everybody's dead now. Like, goodbye. But, you know, Agatha's back. So you're assuming that the kids are also back because, like, the kids are still in the other reality too. But they don't even mention them. Like, you guys could have just put one line in there saying, I brought back the kids and I brought back Agatha. Like, you don't even have to show them. Just say that they're in the coven somewhere, like whatever, working in the basement. Like, who knows? But like, they couldn't they just like add that one line in so people like me who like pay attention to fucking details like this.
That's what I mean. I wish I could ask them, like, when you guys create an episode and you write it, do you guys look back on it and say, where are our fans gonna question like things? They clearly don't do that, because if they did, I feel like they would have been like, shit, we gotta clean up this and make this one make sense. They don't do that.
Maybe instead of like creating like a million plot holes in one episode, you can just add one line that resolves one that is actually important. Like I also wrote down, where is the Stone of Reality and why did Ambrose get it for free? Very confusing as to why that was, you know, like
why did that interaction even happen? Like, where did that guy even come from?
Exactly. Very questionable as to what's going on.
I almost feel like
my final question is...
I almost feel like the Eldritch Terrors, whatever, are playing like a prank on Blackwood. I feel like they're, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there has to be something bigger here.
Something more. Yeah, I can totally see that happening. But that's the episode, guys. We're going to just keep trucking along with these Eldritch Terrors, and hopefully it gets better and better in terms of writing. Because at this point in time, I'm just like, oh, you guys got canceled? I'm not surprised. Let's get into our recap roundups.
Let's do it.
Recap roundups.
Best moment. My best moment, I think we have the same one, and that's gonna be Prudence killing Blackwood. Whether or not we like wanted it to be the way we wanted it to be, I still think it was, for me, like the best moment of the episode, and it was the coolest shot with her like flying in the air with like her samurai sword, and so cool.
With her samurai sword,
She's so badass, and I truly wish she got more. And this storyline could have been so much more for her. And maybe it still will be. We don't know. Like, maybe it doesn't end here. It can keep going, but I don't know.
Like, Taken, she didn't even get a chance to, like, yell at her dad. She didn't even get a chance to be like, go fuck yourself. I can't believe you did all this stuff to my family. Yeah. Like, she just went and killed him, and then it was over. But you're right. He is still technically alive, like, on a platter in the basement. So maybe she'll have a moment to talk to him and be like, why'd you go do that shit? You know, like, who knows?
It's also like a journey of a character shouldn't be one person only. Like, yeah, she killed him. Yeah, now she should go and find her own happiness and, like, move on with her life and, like, create her own life. That's how the character's journey should go, in my opinion. So I don't think I'd even want her to keep staying on this grudge that she has for her father, you know, like, get over it after a while.
So 2 questions based on that. Number 1, do you think that this is the last time we're going to see Blackwood in power?
No.
Like, do you think that this is it for him?
No.
I hope it is, because I'm just like,
I know you're over it, but I don't think it is.
Multiple evil enemies, and his head has been cut off. Like, I don't know what more they need to do, but yeah, you're probably right. Unless they cancel the show and, like, that's it.
That's it.
We already know they cancel the show. And also the second question is, now that Blackwood is out of the picture, and that was one of the big reasons why her and Ambrose broke up, do you think they're gonna get back together?
Probably, now that her and Nikki are, like, not together anymore.
Yeah, so everybody's just gonna end up, like, with their people, and it's gonna be the
which
end
is
of
fine.
the season.
I'm down for that.
F moment.
WTF moment, I think, was just the episode, like, the alternate reality part of it all, and, like, everything's flipped, very Man in the High Castle. I liked that. I thought it was, like, cool to do that for an episode. Like, that's what I mean. I feel like the production value was kind of cool on that side of it, but yeah, it was a little crazy for them to take it on in one episode. Like, I don't think they need to go to the places that they go to deliver their storyline, because at the end of the day, they're a mystical show. There's witchcraft. There's already that element of, like, craziness. You don't need to, like, flip your universe and, like, now he's the emperor and, like, no, like, it gets too much. It gets too much. But I did enjoy it. And, like, it's still fun. But
my WTF moment is gonna go to the fake imp relics ×2. Like I was saying while we were covering it, like, just time wasters. Time waster. I don't need him to have a decoy beside him and then a decoy in a safe, and then they have to open up the safe and then realize it's a decoy, and then it's the dog. Like,
especially when nothing happens, like, when there's nothing happens, like, there's no consequence, like, no one dies or gets really hurt or, like, whatever is affected. It's just like, okay, guys, we know what's gonna happen next. You guys are gonna get it on this try.
Right. Only that shit, that, like, to your point, that shit only works if there is a stake at risk. Like, if Agatha was hanging from, like, a chain, and, like, by the time they get to the second relic, like, and it's fake, she falls in and she dies, you know, then I'd be like, oh my god, they didn't do it on time, and finally they figured it out, and, like, good for them, but, like, so sad she's dead. Like, no stakes. Who wrote this show?
MVP.
I'm gonna have to say Agatha, because I feel like she was, like, playing that double agent character, and that was so freaking cool.
Same.
That I kind of wish she was double agent the whole time. I'm like, that would have been sick if she 100%. Like, this entire time she's been with the witches, but, like, working on his side. And as an audience, like, we still don't know that either. That would have been a really cool, like, twist, and maybe they're still gonna do that. We don't know, but at least for this episode,
we'll see. Agatha is also my MVP for this episode until she goes back to being completely useless in the real world. And I really do hope, like, to your point, I really do hope that they do something different with her character. Maybe, like, in the first, 5 minutes back in episode 5, they do give her the reality soup and she's good to go. Like, who knows? But we'll see.
LVP, I'm going to say Blackwood, because I feel like at this point he's 0-4. He's fucking up these eldritch things, like, left, right, and center. He can't get any of his plans right. He can't get his shit together, and he's just not a scary villain, in my opinion. Like, it's almost, like, comedic at this point, where, like, we know that Sabrina's gonna beat him.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm just like, you literally have done nothing this whole time. So useless. Thanks for being the shittiest villain.
Seriously.
Like, why are you here? My LVP is gonna go to Harvey, because I was pretty disappointed in this episode, and the fact that even in an alternate reality, he could not be one of the people who are, fighting the resistance.
Yeah.
Like, I understand why they did it. I understand that it caused a little bit of tension between him and Roz. I totally get why they did it, but like I just don't believe that he would be
I
that
get what
person.
you're saying. Like it's not
And
genuine to his character. But again, like the universe is flipped, so like it's like what is, you know,
right.
Yeah.
I do take away points for the fact that he couldn't just get over the fact that Roz is
totally. That already didn't make sense to me. That didn't make sense. That was to me a way for them to have tension in their relationship. That doesn't make any fucking sense because like you knew that she had superpowers. So it's like a cunning woman and a witch, like, it's not that far apart. Like it's almost the same.
It's literally the same thing.
Yeah. The best line. A best line, I'm gonna have to give it to Nikki Scratch when he was like, Sabrina Spellman, we're endgame. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, you're kind of cocky, but you're kind of right. And that word is constantly used in this like Riverdale Archie comics universe. So I'm down for it.
Yeah, I do love him. I do love their moments. I think a few of my favorite lines from it are from them, but I'm going to give another one. The one that I'm going to do is Zelda telling Sabrina after she does her practice speech with them in the first scene. She says, "Truth be told, I sensed a lack of authenticity and identity behind your words." And I think
who's saying this? Sabrina to
we were
Nick?
just talking. So that no, this is Zelda saying it to Sabrina when she does her like election speech.
Okay.
And she basically says like, you're not being authentic and it doesn't feel like you. And it kind of calls back to what we just talked about, like about that final scene with her at school having that little speech. And it's just like, it doesn't feel as authentic as it should have been, because it's not as powerful 4 seasons later. Like it felt powerful in season 1. But by now, I'm just like, are you guys just pandering to your audience again for the millionth time? Like, we get it. We are all feminists watching the show. Like, it's fine. Yeah. So I was kind of over it. But yeah, there's a lot of great, there were a lot of great flirty moments that I really loved between Sabrina and Nick. Like one of the ones that I wrote down as well was he's like, just so you know, I could have taken a lot more weight. And she's like, I believe it.
Oh,
it was really cute. I'm excited for them to get back together. And that is the episode. But before we finish it off, I would like to take some time to thank our patrons of the episode, our Rewinder squad. We got White, Nicole, our Lit Rewinders, Tina Ann, Soleil, and Kate, and our Mommy Rewinders, Becca, Sarah, Tamala, and Grace. Thanks, guys.
And if you would like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind. If you join, you'll get access to all things Recap Rewind exclusive content, and updates.
And also make sure you guys are checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. You can also find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iTunes. Like, subscribe, follow, review, and don't forget to comment to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.